everyone. Welcome to the Find a Moment podcast, where we navigate the space between ideals and everyday life. We are your hosts, Gretchen Roberts and Jennifer Ford, and we look forward to finding a moment with you today. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Find a Moment podcast. We are in our final episode of our education series, and we are so excited to introduce you to a dear friend, Miss Jennie Nelson.
Yay!
Jennie is joining us from Idaho, and I have known Jennie, oh goodness, 15
Yeah,
years,
probably.
probably at least.
Mhm.
And we met through Whole Heart Ministries with Sally Clarkson and have just become great friends and working partners and just having a lot of fun traveling together and doing all the things. So, Jennie, would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure, I'd love to. So, like Gretchen said, I live in Boise, Idaho, which, people don't know where it is. It's not in Iowa and it's not Ohio. I lived in San Diego for 35 years and then we needed space. We looked for jobs in Colorado because that's where my husband really wanted to go, and there just was nothing. And then God had already created a position for him in Idaho. We just had to find it.
Hmm.
So we've been in Idaho for 15 years now,
Wow.
which is nuts. So that is how long we've been
Yes,
friends because
that's
we
right.
met right around that time I was moving.
Mhm.
I have my engineering husband, whose most favorite thing in the world is to ski. So when he came up to look at Idaho, the first thing he did was drive to the area we thought we'd live to the ski mountain to time it.
I love
It
it.
takes 45 minutes from our front door,
Wow.
and he's happy to drive that many, many times in the winter. So he is living his best life.
Oh.
We were able to buy a house with a big yard, which was my dream of being able to open the door and let the kids play. If they're homeschooled all day long, it's challenging if you live in a small house. And I just really empathize for women that are in that situation where they have to leave the house and leave the yard to go find some open space.
Hmm.
My boys are 22. Josh is 22, just graduated from his undergrad at Northwest Nazarene in Nampa. That's a lot of N's. He lived on campus for that whole time. So even though he was about 30 minutes from home, we would see him on weekends or at church, but he was out there living his own life. And he has graduated and is going to be going to grad school, probably at Boise State, which means he's going to move into the basement. And I'm sure that's going to be a whole different deal. A fully adult child living at home for who knows how many years, because he wants to get a PhD in computer science and loves that. So it could be many years, which is, of
Wow.
course, fine by me. We love having him here. My second born, Jack, is my climber, and he goes to the University of Utah, just finished his freshman year there, got plugged in with InterVarsity, and just ended up having a great second part of the year. It was rough at first being that far from home and not knowing who your people are and trying to find friends and all that. But he is thriving. He's moving into a house with five other guys.
Oh,
One
goodness.
of the moms purchased a house near campus and she's renting back to all these guys. So, in theory, if it works out, he could be there for the rest of his college career at the house, which
Wow.
is about a mile from the business building where he spends most of his time because he is studying business. He loves spreadsheets, wants to have a job where he can manipulate spreadsheets, and he watches the stock market, all about those kind of things. He ran a lottery in our house when he was about 9. And we
What?
told him, you realize, honey, you can't take this with you to college. It was a marble maze, and you had to pay 5 cents for a ticket. And then if it dropped in the right one, you won like 20 cents or something. It was ridiculous.
Oh, I love that.
There's the businessman. And then I have my caboose, little Max, who is 9. He was born when I was 42.
Wow.
And I just love having the caboose baby. It keeps
Mhm.
me active and just enjoying all the things. And you kind of get a do-over when you have the,
Yes.
the bonus baby,
Yay.
where all the things that you wish you would have done the first time around, you get a chance to do them. So I'm just very grateful. He is king of the castle, center of the universe, So many people said, now you need to have another one when he was born so that he's not a spoiled only child. And I said, no, not having another baby in my 40s. I will be his best friend. It'll be great. And it's been great. So I spend the majority of my time homeschooling still full time. All three of them have been homeschooled all the way through, which
Wow.
is crazy town. And then I volunteer for my church. I work with life groups and do some church admin on the side, which has been really fun because it feels like my pre-kid life coming back a little bit because that's what I did before the babies were born.
Mm.
I did have a teaching credential once upon a time. I taught middle school math and science. And like I heard Jennifer mention on another podcast, it's not always helpful to have that background because homeschool
So
is
true.
not school at home.
Right.
But it's been it's been a wild ride, and I'm really loving the season that we're in.
I'm so glad you're here. I am just so ready to hear all the things from you.
So usually we'll start our episodes where each of us share a meaningful moment, and it could be something from family or your personal life or something spiritual or something that's happened, just real life type stuff. But we would love to hear if you've got a meaningful moment to share with us, Jenny.
So I've been thinking about this because I love the name of your podcast, and it's so appropriate for living a sustainable life.
Mm.
But one thing that has happened recently is my middle child, Jack, bought himself a fancy camera on Marketplace and apparently got himself the best deal ever. So all his camera friends that know are like, wait, what? How much did you spend for that? They're all totally jealous.
Oh,
But it does more things than I can possibly understand. And he is determined to learn it all. So he's watching YouTube videos, he's testing it. He took it with us to camp this past weekend and was taking time lapse videos of the stars.
mm.
Then we had this crazy thunderstorm, and he got all these lightning bolt pictures where you
Wow.
can see the fork of the lightning. It's awesome. So the part about why it's meaningful is that it's fun to see him pick up a new hobby
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
because climbing has been his hobby and his job and his competition, and he's pretty burned out in that department now. So for him to have a new hobby is wonderful, but he is also inviting us into that.
Mm.
So he gave me for my birthday breakfast with him. So we went out to breakfast last week or the week before, and he spent the entire breakfast teaching me all the things that his camera does.
I
Oh my
love
goodness.
it.
It was so sweet, and he was so excited, and he was showing me how it works, and he's learning how to edit in Lightroom and
Oh wow.
importing and figuring the best way to sort, like all the things. And it's been so fun. And then the secondary thing that has happened out of this is that little man, the 9-year-old, he has a tiny little Polaroid camera. And so he's been following Big Brother around,
Oh.
trying to like take the same pictures. They were outside with the dog. We have the most adorable miniature golden doodle who's kind
Oh.
of red. He's just the cutest thing. Such a feisty little problem child still, but they took him outside and got him running, and we're taking all these pictures with his ears
Oh,
flapping and his paws off the ground, and little brother is like right there trying to recreate exactly what Jack was doing. It's just so sweet to have him invite everyone in the family into, and he's just as excited to share with his older brother Josh too, who is they are best buds, but they are complete opposites in personalities. When we did Myers-Briggs with them, they were opposite on all four letters.
Wow.
All four. And
Wow.
light bulbs. Oh, this really explains a lot of my life.
uh, that's
So
Wow.
it's been
amazing.
really fun.
That is so neat. Okay, we're gonna have to see some pictures.
I think it would be fun to see a picture of the two brothers together.
Oh, yes,
Both,
yes,
side by
Yes.
side with the
definitely.
cameras. Like
Hmm.
that's
Yes,
because
I
that's
do
kind of
have
like
some.
your, oh,
Yeah,
that's really
I
sweet.
love that.
Thank you. Gretchen, do you
you're
have
welcome.
a meaningful moment to share?
Well, it's so interesting because we did not talk about our meaningful moments, but the similarities. So last last week, the summer, I should say, the summer is birthday season for us. Like we have a birthday like every couple weeks, it seems like. And so last week, my youngest turned 10, and then my oldest son turned 20. even though like nothing in particular happened during those birthdays, it was just kind of a meaningful moment for my mom, mind, and heart, just to
Mhm.
wrap around that I have this one that turned 20 and this one that turned 10, and just all the reflection and just memories and go. I went through so many old photos,
Oh, goodness.
and there are so many photos of the one who turned 20 holding or reading with or playing with the one who turned 10, and just from the time that he was a newborn baby, and then so it was just such kind of a moment to mark for me of wow, they're both entering new decades. And
Mhm.
oh, so it's interesting that you had one with your son and your youngest, and
Mhm.
that's
Mhm.
what mine was too. So
Mm.
Awesome. That's going to be
it's
me in January, February, because they'll turn 20 and 10.
oh
Gosh, you guys really, y'all got some really
We did.
parallel
We
things
did.
going on.
She just crammed in two extra babies in the middle that I don't have. I just took the 10-year gap as a gap.
And that's okay.
And that probably has so many different things to it too, that it
Yeah.
is a full 10-year gap without it. Yeah,
Mhm.
that's so neat.
Well, the meaningful moment that I'll share was it's interesting. You guys are both sharing things that involve both two kids. I only have two kids, but there there's definitely something about the dynamic, like the relationship and all the connections that we have, like kind of what we are used to on a daily basis, like how much time we spend with each of our kids. So we have this annual vacation with my husband's extended family, where all go to the beach together. And as when the kids were younger, vacation doesn't feel like vacation. It just feels like you're having to do all the things, but like in a different place. Well, now
It's a trip.
yes, yes, and in several ways. And now when we go, the youngest of all the cousins is 14. And so
Mm.
they have two cousins, two boys who are the same ages, 14 and 16. And so when we go, the beach where we go, there's hardly anybody there. It's very safe, very kind of out of the way. And so honestly, we don't know where our kids are most of the time. And maybe somebody's going to think that's terrible. But I mean, I track them on the phone, of course. But they stay gone all day and they're on the boat or they're running to get ice cream or whatever. And so after about the third day there, I realized I haven't seen my kids. They're staying up late. They'll walk over to the beach. A big group of them go over to the beach and watch, the stars or whatever. And by like the third day, I thought, I don't know what my kids are, I don't know how they're doing. So I sent them both a text the next morning separately, and I just said, I'm feeling so disconnected. I miss you. Let's, pick something you want to do today for a couple hours. We could take a walk, we could go swim, we could, whatever you want to do. And let's do it. I miss you. And so we did. We swam in the waterway and just hung out and chatted. And there's something about swimming together where it's just the two of you. There's no devices. You can't possibly be interrupted by anything. And it was just quiet and beautiful and very different. Like you don't get a conversation like that in your home because
Mhm.
there's always
Mhm.
something going on, whether it's one of the
Yeah.
cats being funny or the phone or, whatever. And so that just realizing if I'm feeling disconnected, that means that for me, the default is being connected with my kids. And
Mhm.
that,
Mm.
and also not liking the disconnection.
Mhm.
It said
Mhm.
to me, you, Jennifer, you value that time with your kids. They are people, you enjoy those relationships. They're not always easy, but I don't know, that was just meaningful to me because I kind of had this feeling before I realized that it was from being kind of disconnected. I just realized there was this feeling that I had where I was like, I don't know how they're doing. They love going off and being independent and having so much fun with their cousins who they just adore. They're all sweet. But I had to kind of identify like what am I feeling? Oh, I need to talk to my children. And it was good.
I love that.
And
That's
they felt
amazing.
it made them, I think it made them feel good that I wanted that because I think
Mhm.
sometimes they can feel when everyday life is also I just need a minute, whatever that is. Sometimes I think it makes them feel like I don't want that. Like I need space. And sometimes I do, but I think for them to hear me say, I want time with you on vacation. Vacation is
Mhm.
not time for you to get out of my hair and out of my face. This is time where you get to have some freedom in a safe way, but I also want I want to enjoy I want you to be part of that vacation
Yeah.
with me. And so
Mhm.
that's where we
Oh,
that's where we caught up. And it was
that's
sweet. And then I
So
feel
fascinating.
like it
lovely.
kind of filled the tank for the next couple days for them to go and
Mhm.
do. And I was like, I know how they're doing. Yeah,
Hmm.
they're
Yeah,
good.
that's great.
Yeah. Our schedules were different during vacation too, so that changes things. But
Hmm.
anyway.
Yeah. So good. Oh, love it. So we are going to jump into education discussion. And Jenny, you have homeschooled all the way through, and you have a history with education. And so I just love talking about this with you. And so our first episode was on education in the school-aged years. So Jenny, we would love to hear your thoughts on education in those school-aged years.
I think one thing that is just so important that I have to remind myself all the time, because I am, like I said, I've been trained as a teacher. I am very ISTJ. Let me follow the rules. I want everything in order. I want it planned. I want to follow the plan. And children don't operate like that. And homeschool shouldn't operate like that.
Hmm.
Hmm.
So I always had to and still have to remind myself that my goal for my children and myself is to preserve their love of learning. Because if we can do that, then they can learn anything when they're ready to learn it. So, no math lesson, no curriculum, no handwriting exercise is worth destroying their love of learning or destroying the relationship between you. There is nothing, right? Those of us that were publicly or we went to school in some form, we can probably all think of that one teacher. And because of that teacher, we might hate math, or we might think that history is boring, or we might, well, we don't want to be that one teacher. We're the only teacher they have if we're home educating.
Right.
So, if you just keep that preserving the love of learning is what I'm doing right now, doing that.
Mhm.
And then if there's crying every day over one of those things, usually it's math, which is my forte. So it's funny that people's struggle is usually math. But I also love to encourage women in that or offer to help them. That's another tangent. But as
Mm.
homeschoolers, we should be helping each other with those things that are hard. But if they're crying every day or you're crying every day, then something has got to change. You've got to figure out a different way to do it. Maybe you need to take 6 months off math.
Mm.
They
Mhm.
won't die. In fact, they'll probably progress way more than you expect because their brain has had a chance to breathe and grow. We had to take a full year off. We had just moved here, so we'd already been not schooling at all for probably 6 months because we moved into a friend's house. We didn't remodel, but we staged our house. We moved my mom into our house, and then we remodeled her house because she moved with us, and then sold both houses,
Oh my
and
word.
then moved. So we were at like 6 months of no schooling. Well, and then we got here, and my mom said, I think that I have cancer.
Oh,
And she had known, but didn't want to disrupt the move.
Oh,
oh
Jenny.
my goodness.
Oh my goodness.
So here we are in a new city. We knew one couple. My husband knew them because it was a former coworker of his. She immediately starts chemo and then radiation and then surgery. And so that was a solid year. My sister ended up moving here because she's an immunologist. And so she did all my mom's doctor's appointments with her and translated what was going on. So it was just a zoo. So it ended up being like 18 months of no school. And my mom she started getting dehydrated from the chemo, had to have IV fluids every day
Mm.
after a chemo treatment. So that meant loading her and my children in the car, driving 30 minutes to the hospital, twiddling our thumbs for 1 or 2 hours, and then driving her home. So my kids watched an awful lot of movies in the car. I tried to read to them during some of that time. So my goal was if I could just get some reading in, I'm going to just let everything else go.
Yes.
So literally a year and a half before we really started a more typical kind of do some math, do some history, and my kids were exactly where they should have been
Mm.
Mm.
after a year and a half of nothing formal because they were learning, they were growing, they were being challenged in all kinds of ways. So just really, if there's crying every day, figure out a different way to do it. Take a break.
Mhm.
Ask a friend whose homeschool you admire and relate to. Find a book that describes homeschooling in a way that you want to do it.
Mhm.
I just can't encourage you enough to preserve their love of learning and preserve your relationship with them. None of the rest of it is worth it. It's
Mhm.
not.
Right.
Wow. Just all that you went through as a family. And I'm sure that the relationships probably deepened and strengthened so much
Mhm.
during that time that when you did go back to doing school things, it was probably so different too. Wow.
Yeah.
Um, I think that is such an encouragement to people who maybe are going through a challenging season and they're trying to do the math and do this and do that, that you can take that break and just put it aside if need be. I think it's probably scary to people to think of that, but seeing you on the other side of that many years down the road and that
Mhm.
you would still do the same thing,
Absolutely.
yeah, that is really powerful.
Mm.
Hmm. Hmm.
Wow.
Yeah,
Um,
it was a challenge.
so thinking about when you were in that season of like, okay, I'm just going to read with them, like what were some of the books that you guys read together? Like what were some of your favorites?
One of our most favorite series is Swallows and Amazons,
Mm.
Oh.
which not a lot of people in the US are familiar with. It's super popular in Britain because that's where it started, but it just never really got here. And some people have a hard time with the boat terminology because they think they need to know what a halyard is and what a this kind of knot and then this kind of knot. I didn't stop and look it up. I'm not that mom. I didn't print out a diagram. I just read it and we would guess at what it meant and we would go on.
Yep.
And by the end of the 12 book series, you pretty much know what a halyard is.
Wow.
But it's just such a fun series of kids that are having realistic adventures in that they could happen to real kids. It's not fantasy at all, although there are two books that are they're written in a fantasy style, and I don't like those. I skip those two.
Mm.
But the kids go off to the island. The parents have given them permission. They meet other kids, and their adventures are like, let's have a boat race, and let's see if we can survive in the winter in this little cabin. The parents are like 20 minutes away.
Mm.
But those were so fun, and it's such a long series that we lived in that for a long time. And then I'm going to talk a little bit later about education in the adult years, but Swallows will come back because that just was one
Ooh.
of our favorites. Of course, we did Narnia, and when the kids were a little older, we listened to Lord of the Rings together. Usually would do that on long road trips because
Mm.
those books are so long and the wars go on and on and on. But they really are so beautiful.
Mm.
And we read a lot of picture books. Like picture books are delightful. My 9-year-old is so funny. He's so jaded because he's got his big brothers, right? He's like, I can't, we're not going to read that. That's a baby book. I'm like, it is not a baby book. It's excellent just because it's in picture book format. I get so mad.
I love it.
So sometimes I would just go, we collect a lot of picture book, not as a collector, but just by virtue of, oh, I
Mhm.
think I want to own that one, or they don't have it at the library. And I would go to the library, mostly using the hold system at the library. I didn't spend a lot of time browsing because I'd bring home trash and not realize it till I started
Right.
reading it to the kids.
Right.
But we'd have a stack of 30 picture books and be like, okay, which one should we read next? And then one kid would get to pick one. And what are we going to read next? Okay, let's read this one. So we did all the things, picture books, long format books, and audiobooks, but as much as I could do. And if a book is terrible and boring, especially for you, you can chuck it. Just set
Yeah.
it aside. It's either the wrong age, the wrong topic. There's too many delicious, wonderful books out
Mhm.
there to spend waste time on things that somebody else said that you should read. For instance, there is no literature that I have found that is excellent that is set in ancient Egypt. So everyone's like, read Cat of the Bubastes, or however you
Right.
say it. So boring.
Yes. I love that
People
you find someone said it. Thank you.
can't. Okay, so here's the other one that drives me crazy. I cannot stand what's it called when, oh, I can't think of the word. There's a genre, but like Pilgrim's Progress. What's that called? That type of book where
Allegory?
the,
No.
yes, allegory. I knew
Oh.
it started with an A. I despise allegory, which means I despise Pilgrim's Progress, the single most recommended children's book in the entire world. And I'm like, this is so dumb. Of course he's carrying his burden. He's walking in the slough of despair. Like, no, I want adventure and meaning. And I don't know. It feels like a, I know people love Pilgrim's Progress. I know there is value there. I just don't prefer it.
Yes.
And that's okay.
I love that. That's okay.
So you don't need to follow anybody else's list. Use the list. And if you start the book and you don't like it, set it aside and do something else. Give it to your kids to read to themselves. Sometimes they're going to like all kinds of books that are boring for you to read out loud.
Mm,
Just read the best ones. There's not enough time.
right. Oh, I love your honesty. That's so refreshing.
Oh, well.
I think we don't always feel permission to be honest about the books we do not love,
Hmm.
especially if they're kind of in that category of like, these are the must reads, these are the classics, these are
Mhm.
the great books. You kind of feel like I'm supposed to love this, but I don't love
Right.
it.
I
So
don't get it.
it's
No.
okay to not love it.
Yeah, it really is.
As you move through the younger years, like how did things look different for you from the time like maybe they were younger and then they're getting older and kind of growing and maturing? Like how did things progress for you?
Well, one thing that was enlightening as a middle school, junior high teacher is that those years, usually seventh, eighth, ninth, sixth, seventh, eighth, somewhere around there, they're all the purpose of those years in public school is review. You review everything you've learned and you touch on barely the things you're going to learn.
Hmm.
Why? Why do we have to do it all twice? No, thank you. So,
Right.
for us, someone told us about this challenge called the 12 challenges, where when the kids are 12, you give them 12 challenges. And when they're 13, they get privileges or rewards related to those 12 challenges. So, for my kids, when they turn 12, their whole curriculum is doing the 12 challenges and they are real life things. So this came from a book about the Maasai warriors and what they do for their children when they're around that age. They have to like kill a lion or something. Something that we cannot. Can you imagine sending out your 12-year-old here? You go by yourself, stay alone out with all the scary animals, and bring us back a dead lion to
No,
prove
thank
you're
you.
Oh,
a man.
No, thank you.
No.
oh,
So, a friend of a friend of a friend translated that into our context and culture. And the 12 challenges can be, you get to pick what they are, but they tend to be real life learning skills that we don't necessarily cover in school. They won't get it in public school necessarily. We don't cover it in homeschool unless we're really diligent. So, it's things like basic car repair, how to change a tire, how to change the oil, how to fix a bike chain, how to pump up a tire on your bike. And then there's things related to learning their faith. So I have my kids do how to study your Bible inductive, introductory to inductive study, which is not brand new to them, but they don't know the language and
hmm.
they've never like tried the actual process. So they have to complete a book about that. And it's where they're doing the inductive study themselves, but it's guided in a kid-friendly way. They have to do a financial aspect. So we've had them use one of Larry Burkett's money management books that's written for teens. They have to make a budget. They have to learn what it looks like to balance the checkbook, even though no one does that by hand anymore. They still need to learn how it works. And related to that is a piece they have to earn and save a certain amount of money. They have a money goal. And they can do some of that by working for us, but really the idea is to find something else. So Nelson Bros blows and snow. No, Nelson Bros snows and I can't remember. Oh, blows and mows. Nelson Bros blows and mows business was born, which is
Wow.
below snow blowing and lawn mowing. And so they had this whole system of how they paid each other. And, they had 3 or 4 neighbors that would offer to pay them to do the yard work.
Hmm.
And that was one of the ways they earn money. There's a physical component, so something challenging physically. So for my boys, it was a certain number of pull-ups, push-ups. They had to run 30 miles in 30 days. So they could do that in however they wanted. And, unlike Gretchen's family, who runs millions of miles, we are not runners. My husband used to run when he was younger, but because they just need to know what it feels like to push their bodies as young men, getting all their man muscles. They need to learn how to develop those. So just a very introductory way. My second born is the most athletic amongst us. He's the climber. He decided that instead of running, he wanted to do bike riding. And so we gave him like a miles challenge of bike riding, and he tripled it. He did something like
Wow.
1,500 miles in his year. So he would go off, it was nuts. He would go off and ride to the grocery store, and then you could get to the grocery store on the back streets, and then you could go into the farmland and just keep going. And they didn't have phones yet. There was no tracking. There was no, I had to just, please God. Once in a
Wow.
while they would call from the gas station because someone had popped a tire and they didn't want to walk home 4 miles with the popped tire. Fine, I came to rescue them, but they just had a blast. And now all that area is developed now because people are moving into
Oh.
this valley so fast. And they're like, oh, remember when we used to ride our bikes here and we went by the house with the pig and
Oh,
all these special memories. Let's see. There's also some component of sexuality and growing up in that way. So my boys did the Passport to Purity weekend that Family Life writes. They would go away for a weekend with dad and listen to all these CDs, which are, somewhat horrifying to my mother. Like, no, 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 dad gets to do, I have all boys, dad's handling that.
that's funny.
But along with that weekend, they would do something fun. Like one kid did an off-roading day kind of thing in the middle of. So you're doing this, the awkward conversations, and it's hard to talk about those things. Of course, it's written in a lovely, gentle way, but it's still going to be awkward no matter how you cut it. And then they would do this fun thing, and then they would have some more
Hmm.
discussions. And they both loved those weekends. What's crazy to me is it's almost time to do that with the littles. Like, Gretchen,
Wow. I know.
how?
It's
How?
crazy.
Um, and then there was a few other things that were tailored to their own personalities. So it literally, they had to work on those. They were expected to work on them a little bit every day.
Hmm.
And I think that I kept math because that's really the thing that still is progressing in those years. But
Hmm.
everything else, again, if you follow sort of what they do in the rest of the system, you don't need to cover material in those years. Why introduce biology if you're going to do full-fledged biology the next year? Like in my opinion, it's not necessary. So that was their school for that whole year. And then the fun comes at the end. They had to volunteer. So that was challenging. They
Hmm.
had to find a place to volunteer. We did some stuff together. Like we did food bank where you sort food that's going to be distributed. But then I wanted to make sure they did some face-to-face service because especially one of mine would be like, leave me here in this silent warehouse by myself all day. I'm fine. But make me talk to someone.
Right.
So
Yeah.
we did some serving. There's a women's and children's shelter here where they let men come in and serve meals, like they do mixed gender groups. So we did that a couple of times. I don't know, we did a few other things like that. Mostly they would kind of try and figure it out. I would help them. Like they're not on their own. I did a lot of legwork.
Hmm.
And we would do as many of those things together as we could because it was so valuable. And, I don't need to send my child off alone to serve a meal at a women's and children's shelter, but we can all go and we're all going to learn and grow and
Hmm.
connect with these women. And for them to see kids their age living in the shelter, like You can't replicate that. And then I think there was a few other things that were tailored to them specifically that was different for each kid.
Mm-hmm.
And I also have many friends with daughters that have done this. So I have lists of what they did for the girls because some of it's the same. Like you want a girl to be able to change a tire, or at least know how to do it, how to do her bicycle. And, a lot of the things are the same, but maybe the physical challenges are different, or maybe there are things in your family that you want them, skills that you want them to have, or
Mm-hmm.
at least be exposed to.
Love that so much. And I just think that that 12-year-old year is a great year to do that. This
Yeah.
is such a perfect time where they're going from childhood to adolescence and young adulthood.
Mhm.
And I can imagine like it gives them such confidence at that age when it's kind of can be an awkward age and to feel like they don't maybe have skills or things to offer. And
Mhm.
oh, I just love this idea so much. So, would you be willing to share some of this in the show notes so we can share with others?
Yes, absolutely. So I have a little dormant podcast that is just sitting there called the Learning Path Podcast, little super short episodes to encourage moms. And I have several episodes related to the 12 challenges with links of what I used, links to what some young women did for their challenges. So, yes, let's put all
Oh,
that in the show notes.
wonderful.
Mhm.
Yes,
Thank
we will
you.
do that. Thank you so much. Whenever I have heard you talk about this, I just love it. And you are right. I am going to plan and do this
It's so
with them
fun. The,
baby.
the other thing that I didn't see coming, I kind of knew that, 16 is going to be a transition, but 11, anyone ever had an 11-year-old? Oh my
Mm,
gosh, so many moms come, they're like, I don't know, they won't do the thing and they're angsty all the time. And I'm like, are they 11?
right.
Yes, yes, they are. So we had my one adolescence was a physical challenge. He had all these wacky things go wrong physically. For the other one, it was super angsty and anxiety and
Mhm.
lots of drama where there had not been drama before. And the 12 challenges land at right that perfect moment because you can chuck the rest of school out the window and now they have this
Mhm.
new thing. And of course, physical exercise, serving other people. It's all the kinds of things that they need to get their eyes off their own angst and
Yeah.
give them, like Gretchen said, a little bit of purpose, a little bit of help along the way. Yeah. So, and then at the end, you do 13 privileges or
Mm.
gifts of some kind. So we like had a big party. It was bigger than, not a big party, but we had a party, and we don't even usually do birthday parties. So it was a big deal. And they got a couple of gifts that were related to their hobbies. We did a shield to represent, them protecting women and protecting their purity and going out to be a fighter as a man. So they have this like decorative shield that has a verse on the back. And they got to go on a little trip. So it turned out to be more than a little trip. We planned a little trip, and then the little trip turned into 4 days in DC with dad. I was so jealous. I didn't get to
Oh.
go.
Oh.
And then things like if they don't have their own house key, maybe the
Oh.
first locked down telephone situation. Maybe, there's all different kinds of things that you can do to represent,
Mhm.
you did this hard work and we're going to start treating you like a young adult. And here are some privileges: choosing your own bedtime,
Mm.
free access to the snacks. Get the things that we like
Wow.
lock down because
Yeah.
the goal, you're raising an adult, right? You're
Hmm.
not raising a child. You don't want a child at the end of raising a child. You want a fully functional, independent adult. And
Hmm.
the more practice they can get when they're in your house, the better, because they
Hmm.
can make all those mistakes and the consequences are not catastrophic.
Mhm.
And
Mm.
you can start teaching them how to choose healthier snacks in addition to the sugary snacks, and how to manage their time and not stay up until 3 a.m. reading when they have to do X, Y, and Z in the morning or whatever. So
Right. Oh.
it was good for me, because it was such an intentional, oh, right, these are things I do want to do. And to have someone else say, here's some ideas was very helpful.
Hmm. I agree with those kind of middle school years as it can really feel like you're spinning your wheels. Like
Yeah.
when are we going to do the more in-depth stuff? But yet, do we start it now? Do we wait?
Hmm.
This is a great way to bridge that transition.
Hmm.
So you homeschooled all the way through. So what was that transition? So after they've done their 12 challenges, they've kind of moved into those teen years. What did that look like for you all?
For us, that was definitely a dual enrollment for pretty much just one class at a time.
Hmm.
So when they were in about 11th grade. So around here, you can start dual enrollment at 13.
Oh,
So I
wow.
may do things differently with Max. He and I could go take a class together, which I think would be so fun since I'm going to be his best friend forever.
Right. I love it.
Center of the universe, very much attached. So we did dual enrollment and I tried to back off with their school. So that looked like every year making sure I asked them, what did you enjoy learning this year? What subjects are you despising? What are you, not that I'm going to take away math because you don't like math, but maybe I'm going to adjust the frequency that you need to do it. Maybe I'm going to lower my expectations. Not every kid needs to get through calculus in high school. It's just not necessary. And what are your future goals, and how can I help you check the boxes that might be required for a college entrance, or, an apprenticeship? What kinds of things do you need to do? So there was a lot of wiggle room in asking them. Now, unfortunately, both of my boys were a lot of like, I don't know. I don't know. I didn't like any of it.
Everyday life.
Everyday life.
Right.
Don't hold back.
So, I would just try to be very observant and realize, like, one of my children is so science minded. Well, he's the grad school in computer science. Like
Hmm.
he did way more science than any person could require of him because he wanted to do all the sciences.
Wow.
So we facilitated that, looking for people that are excellent in their field or that just love their field that are willing to teach a kid. Sometimes they've never done it before. Like you can reach out and say, "Hey, I know that you have a chemistry background. Would you be interested in going through this textbook? Here's your resources. You don't need to figure it out and doing this experiments with my child because that's not my forte. They're going to learn so much more." So I tried to do that. I did a lot of, we have a lot in house. Like my husband is the physics teacher, and he'll teach any child physics that wants to learn it.
Oh,
And my sister lived here for a while. She's the immunologist, so she did a little biology class. And it was so fun. They did things like culturing the water in all these different places around us. And now there's like, oh, I don't know that I'm ever going to swim in that place ever again.
Oh my
Because after
goodness.
one day, there was a lot of little things swimming around in there. And
wow.
then my husband uses those light sticks to purify water when they're camping. Can't think of what they're called.
Hmm.
But my sister was like, no way that thing works. No way it works. So we took that nastiest water and put it in, and like 10 seconds later, nothing is moving. Everything is dead. And she was like, okay, you can keep using this. I approve. So
Wow.
the dead micro things are still in there. But there was nothing alive. Totally work. And for the kids to see that happen, fascinating.
That
And
is
they
so
still are
cool.
like, "Oh, are we going to swim there? Isn't that the one where we?" So funny. So funny. So,
Uh,
well, one thing is it's really different for every kid. You really have to explore, like, what does that kid want to do in the future? What are they interested in now? Where are the pressure points that you can relieve for them? If such and such a subject is too much, don't make them do that subject. Like
mhm.
it doesn't matter. One thing that I think is really important for people to understand is that depends on the state. Sometimes states have requirements. But in our state, there are no homeschoolers do not have to follow the high school graduation requirements.
Mhm.
That is usually something we moms think, oh, I have to meet all these requirements. No, you don't have to do that. What you do need to do is meet the entrance requirements for whatever is next. So rather than researching what the Boise schools require of kids for graduation, I started researching the schools that my kid wanted to go to.
Mhm.
What do they require for entrance? Most schools have a homeschool admissions counselor, and their admission requirements are not actually what's listed on the website. They're way more loosey-goosey for homeschoolers, way more, because they understand that homeschoolers have a
Mhm.
whole life and they want them. One child applied to about 5 schools. Nobody batted an eye except for one. One school pushed back and said, "We want every curriculum, every book, every," and I was like, if that's how you feel about homeschool, you're not getting my money.
Yeah.
So
Right.
we just,
Hmm.
that one went off the table. And then my other child, this is so funny. I never knew this. He at Utah, we were debating language. Like, you need, hey, you have to do 2 years of language. You have to.
Mhm.
Josh did that by doing Latin. But so I wrote to the Utah admissions counselor and said, what are your admission requirements for language? Because, she wrote back and said, we do not have any academic admission requirements. We look at test scores,
Mhm.
grades, and the whole application. And I was like, so
Wow.
he doesn't have to do any language. She's like, if you don't want to do it in your homeschool, you don't have to do that. What?
Wow.
It's a whole different mindset from what we think that we have to do with them.
Mhm.
So, a lot of the high school research for me was doing that research, learning where they want to go, what does it mean. For military and NCAA athletes, you do have to write down every curriculum and every book. There's no getting around that. It's just what they require for homeschoolers. So, if you think your kid might be headed that way, you just start writing things down. You
Mhm.
write down what the books you used, what the books you read, what curriculum. If you did curriculum, you don't even have to have curriculum. You can just have books.
Mhm.
Sorry, I get all
Oh,
excited
I
about this
love
because
it. I
moms are
love
doing
it.
so much more work and stress than they need to be doing.
Right. When they take those dual enrollment classes at, say, a community college or a university, that you need to make sure that you've downloaded the syllabus for those classes. And I learned that early on. So with my son who's going off to college now, they initially were like not taking any of his dual enrollment things. And so we had to research and look into it. And I mean, they needed a syllabus for absolutely everything. Well, thankfully, because like you said, just if they're like with the NCAA athletes and things like that, you just have a file, you've downloaded it all. So we could easily just get all those syllabi and send them on to the school. So
Mhm,
yes,
mhm.
saving as much as you can of those little things along the way can help save a lot of headaches down the road and save them a
Yeah.
lot of college credit with that they could
Yep.
end up getting. So,
And time, because a
right?
semester of community college is a year's worth of high school credit.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah.
You knock them out a lot faster. And then you can start. My climber was working and climbing almost full time as a senior because he had done all the things he needed to do for school.
Mhm.
He had a little bit, but not much. And it didn't affect him one iota.
Yes.
Utah didn't bat an eye.
That is such good advice too, to look ahead and then adjust based on what schools they're looking at, or like you said, what apprenticeships, if they are wanting
Mhm,
to do woodworking or,
mhm,
um, contracting or things like that, that getting them set up with someone like that from the beginning, and you have the time and space to do that.
mhm,
So,
mhm. Yeah, where can they shadow? Where can they volunteer just to see what life is like in those careers?
mm-hmm,
Yeah. And I college was expected to a certain degree, but if either kid had pushed back, we wouldn't have forced it. But
mm-hmm,
I didn't want to be the one that had prevented it because I hadn't done my due diligence of, okay,
right.
here's the requirements to get into BSU, right? That's right down the street. Just wanted to make sure they were ready for that. And let's talk about testing for a second because this freaks women out. You do not have to test at all ever when you're homeschooling. You can give your child a test, but you've been alongside them the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
You know what they're learning. You know what skills they can have. You know where their struggles are in math. So I didn't really test ever. The first test that both kids took was a practice PSAT because the PSAT is the one that ties to money from colleges and the government. So you want them to take the PSAT as an 11th grader. That's the year that counts. So we took a practice test sometime in the 10th grade year, and then they took a real PSAT as a practice in 10th grade. And then Khan Academy has this great feature where you can import your scores and it will tailor the practice to where you need help. And then PSAT, and then at least one SAT after that. And
Mm-hmm.
you don't have to do that. Not every school requires them. A lot of things have changed, and you can do the ACTs, whatever. But the point is, my kids' scores were not that great. They were fine. He would have gotten in, but you want to be eligible for some of the money because that's often what it's tied to. And just one summer of pretty diligent 15 minutes a day Khan Academy practice, he raised his scores by like 400 points.
Wow.
It was a drastic because he just needed the practice
Mm-hmm.
of taking a test. He needed to go faster because he's very, very slow. Ended up getting a really great scholarship from NNU that made it possible for him to go there.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
So you don't have to test, but there are some that are important if you have a college bound kid.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like this is so timely for me. This is like one of the very few times where I feel like I'm hearing information where I'm like, oh, it's not too late. So
Right.
that's something that we talk about on the podcast too. Like the
Mm-hmm.
hourglass is part of our,
Yeah.
I guess it's part of our graphic that Gretchen created for our media stuff. But
Not an
um,
allegory, Jenny. It's not an
no,
allegory.
No, no, it's a
because we don't
symbol.
like those. Yes. So what we kind of go back to is like as long as there's some sand up in the top, there's still time. So I'm even thinking about that going back to the 12 challenges. Like there may still be time even if your kids are a little bit older.
Mhm.
Like it's not too late. There's still ways to incorporate that. But then for me with this, finally feeling like, oh, I've got a good bit of sand in the hourglass still, thinking about looking ahead to colleges, getting an idea of what maybe what she wants to do, and then kind of making the dual enrollment choices based on kind of what we're seeing down the road instead of getting
Mhm.
to, spring semester registering for spring
Mhm.
semester of her senior year and feeling like, oh, I wish I'd known that. So
Mhm.
this is all helpful
Right,
for me too, for
Mhm.
sure.
right.
Thinking
And
ahead.
the admission counselors can be really helpful. So you can, say we're thinking of taking this and this and this at the community college. Do you guys take those? And will that be an automatic credit or do I need to do something differently?
Mhm.
Josh had to, do what Gretchen did a little bit and kind of push to get one of his credits through, but he did and it was great. And then other classes they took with no expectation of it counting. It was because
Mhm.
I wanted them to have practice being in a classroom because they never had
Mhm.
and learning kind of at a more collegiate pace.
Mhm.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah, and
good.
there is definitely still time. As long as they're still home, you still have opportunity to speak into that, to teach them some of those practical things. And if they don't know them, they probably would like to know them.
Mhm.
Mhm.
It helps them to feel equipped and ready for the world.
Mhm. So moving kind of through those high school years and into the young adult years. So you have adult children now. So what has education looked like and kind of your not necessarily your education relationship with them, but like kind of that learning together piece. What does that look like with adult children?
Well, I think the camera is a good example.
Right.
He's learning so much and he wants to explain it to us. He wants us to learn it too, which is impossible for me because there's way too many. I can't the f stop, the one that's a real number, the one that's a fraction. Like why does one go up when it goes up and one goes up when it goes down? Like, come on. But I think there's not a lot. One child really likes to run through his class registration choices with us, and
Mm,
the other one does not. He makes his choices, he goes to his advisor, he doesn't talk to us at all. And it's a little bit like we have to drag. So, what did you register for? We would love to know. Pulling it out. The other kid is like, I think I'm going to do this, 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 and this. Do you think that's too much? What do you think? What do you, and really wants to talk through. I don't know what my major is going to be. So how do I do my classes? And he just invites us in. I think it's one of the outgrowths of, people say when your kids are little and they want to talk to you about Minecraft, you need to let them.
mm,
Because when they're big, you want them to talk to you about the girlfriends and the classes
mhm,
and the faith struggles. But if you haven't listened all those years, why are they going to tell you now? They think you're
mm,
not going to listen.
mm,
So it's hard because, my little man could talk 100% of the time, 100% of the days. I think he's might be the only true extrovert in our family.
Well, what is that
But
like for you, for y'all as parents? When because we kind of talked about this a little bit when we were discussing education in the adult years, like with your adult kids, particularly when it comes to college and things that you are likely still contributing to financially, and you have invested in it along with them.
mhm,
And to kind of like for me, there's a part of me that would still feel like almost entitled to that information. Not even that I need to approve, but that because I love that you've got one who feels really confident. Like I don't see one of those scenarios as being more mature or more
right.
like better than the other. You've just got two different personalities. They're obviously
Mhm,
both confident, but they just are having different needs in those moments. But I think there's a part of me that would honestly wrestle with some entitlement, feeling like, you absolutely have to share this with me.
mhm,
Like
mhm.
that would just be kind of where I am.
Mhm.
What is that like for you though, actually living through that? Like, and maybe
Absolutely.
if you could like categorize some of your experience with that, like what would the ideal be, and what is everyday life with that particular child,
Mhm,
adult
mhm.
child?
I think the ideal is that I don't get my feelings hurt when he doesn't want to tell
Mhm.
me because it's not really, we have agreed this is what we're contributing to your education, and there was no covenant about therefore you must XYZ.
Hmm.
Mm.
If he screws up, if he fails a class, if he's going to have the natural consequences.
Hmm.
This child is not going to do those things. That's just not in his personality. But we actually had quite a lovely little blow up at the beginning of the summer because of that. There was no conversation. There was an expectation of getting a job and working really hard at getting into grad school, and we weren't really seeing either of those. There was a lot of sleeping in too long and oh, maybe I'll think about, and oh, I worked so hard on that today. In my head, I know he couldn't have spent more than an hour. Like, so we had a pretty
Mhm.
good come to blows, but it ended up with, stop micromanaging me
Mhm.
to me explaining, we're not trying to micromanage you. We just want to be a part of your life.
Right.
We
Mhm.
want to know what you're thinking and what you're working on, and you're living in our house. And so there are going to be some expectations of, some things. One must get out of bed.
Oh man.
Of course, you can play video games with your friends late at night, but you're still expected to do a few things around here because you're living here and you're not paying rent yet.
Mhm.
So it was really hard, and it's still hard all the time. Like I have to just try and bite my tongue and be real gentle. Like, what did you work on today?
Mhm.
Rather than, have you registered for classes? Did you call that man back? Did you apply for that scholarship? Which are all the things I want to ask, because those are the things I
Mhm.
want to know. And most of the time it's, well, I did some emails and I talked to the lady from Oregon State, and I'm just,
Oh.
Right. I I was really impressed when you first said, like, I was not expecting you to say when you said the ideal is to not have your feelings hurt.
Mm.
To me, I was thinking when you state the ideal, it's going to be that he does this, this, and this. And it's not. You were stating the ideal not as a behavior that he does externally, but it was like inward for
Mm.
yourself and how you process it.
Mhm,
I, I think that's just something that I'm going to be chewing on in my mind for a while because so much of it is how we choose to respond.
Mm.
And I don't think we ever get it right all the time in
no,
every
no
season of
way.
parenting and educate, like all of
Mhm,
those things. But for that to be the ideal, I think that's appropriate for every season of parenting, right? To not
mhm.
get my feelings hurt, to be
Mhm.
sturdy,
Yeah.
to be clear,
Mhm.
to communicate, and to not give up.
Mhm,
But anyway,
mhm.
thank you for articulating that because
Mhm.
I get my feelings hurt.
Yeah, well,
And
it's
then
so
I react
easy.
emotionally.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I think especially as homeschool moms, We've had them in our home. We really have had control, even though that's a negative word, for all 18 years.
Mm.
However much we try to let them go and disappear with their cousins at the beach, they're going to come back and have to like say what they've been doing. You're still going to be helping them choose what classes. And so making that deliberate decision to, and he is an adult, and I have to let him be an adult, even though I would really like him to cut his hair once in a while. It's really, really hard. I think it's harder with him living in the house.
Sure.
It was way easier when he was away at college because I wasn't watching all that. And, it's hard when we want to hang out with him and he wants to go be with his friends.
Hmm.
And that, has happened a lot recently. He had been up most of the night playing video games. This is my computer science child. He wants to be in front of his screen all the time. This is the child who didn't get to watch Star Wars till he was like 15 and he didn't get to do any screen. I did all the things, right? No, this is the person he's created to be. And he wanted to go out late at night and go hang out with his friends and watch a movie or something. And I was like, so I did say, we would love to have you around. And I don't know that having been up most of the night, it's very wise to go driving out there. But if that's what you want to do, you can do it. I wasn't going to forbid it, but
Hmm.
I didn't like it. But he's an adult and I have to let him be an adult, or he's going to be a crippled adult or a codependent adult. And I don't want that.
No.
Right.
I don't still want him in the basement in 10 years. No, thank you. At least not without paying rent.
Right.
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 Right. Oh,
But it's not easy, Jennifer. It's not easy at all. And it's a constant battle. And I think it starts when the kids are your kids' age with things like, yes, you may disappear for all day long with your cousins, and I trust you and you can do that. And I would just, because I love you, I'd like to see you once in a while.
Mhm. Yeah.
hmm.
It's hard.
Yeah.
Oh, and hearing you share that, there's part of me that's like,
Mm.
I want to just register you for the classes and I can get all this done. If you'll just give me your login. I got you.
Yes. Yes. And you
Ah,
better put me on your medical stuff too, because I
yeah.
don't like this. You turn 18 and you don't have to show me anything stuff. Fill out those forms. Uh-huh.
Oh, it is such a letting go, like you said, of control that, I mean, really, we're more like these orchestrators, right? And it's so hard to put the baton down and be in the audience and not be the
Yeah.
conductor. It's really hard.
Yeah. Especially when we really like that role. Like, I
Yeah.
do that at work, but I
Hmm.
can't be my work self in my home with my adult children because
Right.
they're not my coworkers that I can kind of boss around a little bit.
And give them a to-do list.
Right. Right. It's really hard. And it's going to be hard for a while, I think, as we settle into this new phase.
Right. It is. It's a whole new season. And we have really had years of practice at the previous
Yeah.
season, and
Yeah.
we got pretty efficient and good at it, right?
Hmm. Yep. Yep.
And
We
now,
knew what homeschool looked like in our house.
right? And this is so different. So thinking about you as an adult, one of the things I love is if I ever need a book recommendation,
Hmm.
say, Jenny, what should I read next? And you have a slew of great recommendations. So, what has education for you as an adult, for you yourself? What does that look like?
I am always reading as much as I can. People say, how do you have time? Well, I read every day before bed. I have a book with me almost all the time. So if I'm caught sitting in my car because I'm early for an appointment, I'm going to read 5 pages. If I'm in the car by myself, I'm listening to an audiobook. If I'm in the car with a kid, we're usually listening to an audiobook. Or, Max loves the science podcast. So him and dad are
Oh,
all about smash boom best. And there's this million bazillion one about finances. He comes home and teaches me all these things when they've been together.
I love that. Okay, will you share some of those with us so we can
Yes.
put them in the show notes?
Yes. So fun.
I
Um,
love that.
and I do read, I like to read nonfiction, like encouraging books, but I don't like that's not a page turner. I want a page turner.
Mm-hmm.
So fiction is my most favorite. I try to alternate or have one of each going at one time. I'll force myself to read a chapter of the nonfiction before I let myself
So
read the fiction or
funny.
whatever.
And
Not
I'm the
always.
exact opposite. I love
I
that. So
know. I know.
funny.
I don't. I can't understand that. Cannot. But I think that people can learn just as much from fiction as they do from nonfiction. For instance, there is this book that came out, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 years ago now called Dearly Beloved. That is a fiction book,
Mm,
but I think it is the most accurate depiction of what a faith journey looks like ever written in fiction that I've ever seen.
mhm,
It's about two couples, basically. So you end up seeing four different faith journeys, and the faith journey is not even necessarily the main point of the book.
mhm,
But the way that it is written, and it makes you think, oh, I've been in a season like that, or oh, I wonder if I'm ever going to have, what would I do if that tragedy happened in my life? How would my faith react to that? And how, in one couple in particular, the one person is very faithful, the other person is really struggling, and then they kind of switch roles.
mhm,
And that happens in marriage where one person is thriving and the other person is struggling in whatever area, and
mhm.
then it switches at some point. So that is one of my most favorite of all time, top five for sure of all time. I love that.
You sent that
And
one to me, right? Because I
I
think
think
I
so,
read it
probably.
several summers ago, and it is
Yes.
so
I
good.
would like everyone I know to read that book. It's
It
just
is,
beautiful.
yes.
That
See,
is
that was a fiction from Jenny, and I loved it. So,
Mhm, mhm.
yay.
So, thinking about ways of learning as adults, I think that one of the things that we really do intentionally is to travel as much as we can. And for us, a lot of people around us, they have, an investment in another property or an Airbnb or a getaway house, or they go to the same place every year as their vacation. We have decided that that's not what we're going to do. We're going to save and scrimp until we can afford 5 plane tickets to somewhere really great. So, for us, the first time we really got to do this was when we went on our Swallows and Amazons vacation, which was really for me.
Mm.
So we got to go to England with everybody. And this is another thing about having almost adult or adult children. Like, if you're going to pay for their travel, they want to come and they want to be with you. And you're making all these memories outside of regular life that I think is so valuable. So we got to stay in the house where Arthur Ransom lived when he wrote the book because it's an Airbnb now. Yeah. And this is, yes, so Gretchen's jaw is on the floor. And that's how it felt the whole time, the whole time.
Wow.
We're exploring the house. We go walk down to the water, and there by the water is a little sailboat. And there's a wooden carved sculpture of a really famous scene in the first book where they're
oh,
making their uncle, who they call Captain Flint, walk the plank. Well, there's a sculpture. I didn't know that was there. So I'm like a kid in a candy store. I'm jumping up and down. I'm like, oh my gosh. The big kids are
Oh,
like, oh, mom. Max is still pretty excited because he was 6. Yeah, he was 6. This was our 2020 vacation that we had to reschedule to 2022,
mm,
which was way better because Max is going to remember it now.
yeah.
And there was a boathouse there. So we did all these. England, for those of you that aren't familiar, has public footpaths all over the place,
Mm.
especially in the countryside. So you're driving along the road and you see this little sign. It says public footpath. And you're like, what? What is that? Well, you can just go and walk. And they go through people's fields. You end up walking by sheep that are talking to you.
Oh my
You
goodness.
see babies. Sometimes there's bulls, and you have to like, oh, I think I'm going to not go down that way.
oh
But
gosh.
the law is that if they get walked on once a year, they have to stay open and be public, even if it goes through private property. So they have a footpath day where somebody organizes where everybody goes out and walks on the footpath to make sure that they stay open.
Oh
Wow.
my
Because you're
goodness.
walking through some and you see the farmer over there and you're like, I don't think he really loves that we're walking through here right now. But there'll be one skinny little path through the cornfield where the corn is above your head and you're walking and you can tell where the path is because it's been walked on enough. And you go like into the forest and there's a carpet of bluebells that you're not looking for, but there they are. And then here come the British kids on their little ponies going by. It's
Oh,
just a magical,
Sounds
magical thing.
Dreamy.
So my goal was to walk as many footpaths as we possibly could. So my husband was in charge of planning the footpath walks. The very first walk, he has us go up to this little lake section. Well, we get up there, realize that it's on land that Beatrix Potter
Stop.
has purchased and donated to the National Trust to stay forever pristine. It has these cattle on them that
Oh,
she has protected from extinction. It's all the,
oh
literally, like, I'm
God.
jumping up and down
Yes.
all the time. Like every little thing is, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, this is so great, this is so great. All accidental. Well, then my husband's rule was to never repeat on a footpath, so we could never go back the way we came. We had to come back a different way.
Oh, wow.
So this is the walk that we affectionately refer to as the all uphill walk.
Oh,
Oh my.
So we're uphill for like 2 miles, 3 miles to get to the lake area, and it was super cool. And we leave the lake area, and where does it go? Up. It
yeah.
goes up. So we're going like on the top. So it's like this big upward loop. Finally, we're like a quarter mile from the farmhouse, and it's straight down. So
Wow.
we did, I don't know, probably 6 miles of uphill and then one little,
Oh, my goodness.
so bad. I was like, we're tromping through these muddy fields. The 6-year-old did most of the walking, but once it was still all uphill all the time, he was finally like, can somebody please carry me?
Oh,
So he was
buddy.
on Josh's shoulders, and we're walking through
Oh.
this mud. So Josh's feet are like, and we see these cattle, and they all have horns. So we're like, does that mean they're bulls? Does that mean they're mad? They're looking at us. Don't look at them. Don't look at them. Don't look at them. I'm having visions. We're all going to die. We're going to get stampeded by the cattle, and here's where we're going to die. They were female cows that had horns.
Oh.
But that we all, like, these are the memories, right? And those memories of traveling with the kids, the crazy things, so many different things happen. Oh, we got on a ferry. Oh, no, no, no. We went to a museum called the Blue Bird Museum. We were staying on Coniston Lake. It was about the Bluebird was this boat where the guy had like broken the record, the speed record. Well, then he flipped and died. And they have it all on. They have the they have the video of the crash running on repeat. I'm like,
Oh,
this is so
no.
good. They've got bits of the boat that are still left. Come on. Well, then you go into another room, and guess what it is? There's the Amazon boat, the real boat,
Stop.
based from the books that the
No
guy
way.
based the stories on. They have this whole
Oh,
like glass case filled with Arthur Ransom's little drawings of the
Oh,
kids,
no.
and there's photographs, and there's. I was like, oh my gosh, see, couldn't. So
oh.
ridiculous. The
At
kids
what
are like,
point,
oh my goodness, Mom.
at what point did you finally just cry? Because
Oh,
I
I
think I
didn't
would be
ever really.
crying.
I
I would
was
be
too
crying.
happy.
Oh,
No, I was too happy. I don't really
Oh,
cry when I'm happy, happy.
oh.
So I was just, talking too loud, like I am right now, jumping up and down. Like, so then after that, my husband and Jack, the climber, wanted to hike more. And the rest of us were pretty much done because we had walked all the way around this long lake to get to the. So they go off into the hills, have their own ridiculous adventure. And Josh and Max and I go to find a ferry back closer to our thing. Well, guess what we get on? We get on a ferry that's a special Swallows and Amazons ferry
oh,
where they take you around the lake. They don't just go straight across. You drive around the whole lake and you
oh,
see, oh, this is the house that is based on from this story. And does anyone remember what they called the lily pads? And Max
Oh,
is chiming in. They called them octopuses. And the dude is teaching Max how to tie the nautical knots. And then
oh,
we go to the island, Wildcat Island, and it looks exactly like it's described in the book, where there's this little hidden in, like, right, like I'm the whole time. Oh my gosh. So,
oh.
wow.
so ridiculously wonderful. So those travel adventures are tied so tightly to
Mm.
that book. And then it also led me on all these rabbit trails because, of course, now I want to read about Arthur Ransom, who was kind of a weird communist. He brought home this wife from Russia. He was a weird guy. And I want to read all the things he's written, not just the Swallows books.
Mm.
And I want to read the unfinished novel that he had when he died. And So it sent me on this path of learning
Mm.
because it was tied so tightly to the wonderful experience of snuggling with the kids on the couch, not knowing what a halyard was,
Mm.
and then expanded because of the travel.
Mm,
Oh my gosh, just so great. So great.
that's wild.
Amazing.
So I'm on a mission right now because I really want to go back to Europe, but it's not, it's a little expensive to take 5 people to Europe.
Right?
And I'm not staying in any of the like the yucky places. Nope, nope, nope. Sorry, honey, I'm too old for that. No hostels for me.
No.
So I really, this year, actually, I really want to try and find some stories and books that are based on the area that I live in that we could get to within about a day's drive so
Oh,
that I can
mm.
capture just a little bit. It's not England, it's never going to be England, but that little bit of, oh my gosh, there's the thing that we read about in that great story.
Mhm.
Um, just to try and bring some of that into my more regular life because that's what fires me up. We did have one experience around here where we were driving to probably to Bend, where my brother and sister-in-law live, and there's a sign that says Jean Charbonneau's grave, and we had just finished a Lewis and Clark book. Jean Charbonneau is Sacagawea's son, right? So
Oh
I'm like,
my
what is he
goodness.
doing in the middle of nowhere in your I'm still in Europe, Oregon. So I'm like, Eric, we have to. So we drive like 5 miles down this tiny little dirt road. We come to this little monument. Well, he had been traveling and contracted polio or something, typhus. I don't know. He got one of those old diseases and died right there in the middle of nowhere, Oregon. But
Wow.
how fun was we read about this? Pomp. His name was Pomp, right? She called him Pomp. Lewis and Clark called him Pomp. He went on the whole journey and then grew up to be an adult, and there's his grave.
Wow.
So
Oh,
this is the kind of learning that I want to do. And when you're excited about something like that, the kids can't help but get into it. Even my husband, who's like, you are a crazy person. But of course, he loved the history bits and
mhm.
he wanted to see the parts of the Bluebird boat that fell apart because the
Oh,
guy died and like the sciency things. He wants to go hike to the waterfall because it's 3 extra miles. And
Mhm.
so just that kind of learning, I think, has something really special in it if you can
Mhm.
follow the rabbit trails to something in real life.
Oh, I love it.
I love that you are talking about travel being part of the education component because I feel like travel is something that's really hard for me, not because I would rather be home, but I have a hard time like putting all the travel pieces together, and I think I've got some fear of like picking the wrong place or being somewhere unfamiliar, or I love the like letting literature guide some of your travel choices. I love that.
Mhm,
I think for
mhm,
me, I'd probably be driven more to like history, or there's an art museum in Boston that I really want to visit.
mm,
Is where the
mhm,
famous Rembrandt Storm on the Sea of Galilee was stolen from. It's still
mhm,
gone.
mhm,
But
Mhm.
mhm,
the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum is in Boston. You actually gave me a book
mhm.
for my birthday years ago.
Oh, I've read
Yeah.
all about her.
It's
Oh,
called Rembrandt is in the Wind.
oh
Is
yes,
the book.
Yes.
yes.
There's another book about Isabella Stewart Gardner too. I can't think of the title, but another like fictionalized a little bit story about her and that museum. It's awesome. So,
Wow.
so like these are the things, right? You're going to get fired up. You're going to be like, oh my gosh, there's the spot where it's supposed to be, but there's
Right.
nothing there because.
There's the frame,
Oh, wow.
but no painting. Yeah. I love art heist stuff. That's my
Oh, me
weird
too.
genre.
Oh my gosh, I'm reading this book right now called Stealing the Mystic Lamb.
Oh no.
That
That's
was
so
what got me into
crazy.
that. Noah Charney. That's why she got me the Rembrandt is in the Wind, is because I was reading that and was so fired up. I learned so much history about the French Revolution, World
My
War II,
gosh,
all of that.
I know,
All of
I
that.
know. It's awesome. And then Woman in Gold, I think, is the movie, but there's also a book. Oh my gosh.
I don't know
Don't do anything else tonight.
doing it, writing it
It's
down,
about
clicking my
it's about
pen.
a Klimt painting. He's the one that's a little bit like
Yeah.
Picasso-y
Yeah.
with lots of gold.
Yeah.
And what happened during World War II to that painting and the family that owned it and the people that, the monuments men that went and was recovering stolen art from the
Yes.
Nazis. Oh my gosh, sent me down so many rabbit trails and it's an excellent movie.
How far are you into the Noah Charney book, Stealing the Mystic Lamb?
Not very, a couple of chapters.
Oh my
Yeah,
goodness.
yeah. I love
Whew.
that. It is
Prepare.
a genre.
I
Art
want to read
heist.
it. Oh,
Yes.
we have gone down a road I
I
was not
love
expecting.
it. It's
This
so
is,
Learning.
exciting. I love
Learning as
it.
adults. You define things that fire you up and
yep,
follow them.
yep.
It's just fun. It
Mm,
it helps us, I think it helps me remember that when your kids are enjoying something, they're
mm,
going to remember it.
yep,
If
yep.
they are despising all the things, why are you taking the time to do it anyway? Because they're not going to remember. It's a waste of everybody's time.
Mhm.
So find a way to bring in things that they love. If your kid is obsessed with horses, don't do regular biology. Find an equine science book and do that.
Yeah,
Mm.
for sure. For sure. One more travel question for you. Have you ever been to the Biltmore Estate in here in North Carolina?
Yes, with Sally and Gretchen on the weekend that COVID shut down the world.
Stop it.
Yes, like March
Hmm.
16th, 2020,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Yeah.
We thought we were going to get stuck in Nashville.
Okay, well, that wouldn't have been a terrible thing. I mean,
Right.
not what you were planning, but to me, that would not be horrible. But did you, I don't know if you guys did the audio tour or what you did when you were there, but okay, did you see the original Albrecht Dürer piece that's there from like the
I don't remember.
I don't
1500s?
I'm
It's
remember
a
sure we
that.
did.
rhinoceros. But part of the Biltmore was used to house and store famous valuable art during World War II. They
Oh, I did not know
vaults
that.
wall in one of the spaces there.
Awesome.
They knew like this is going to be a target if they come here, and so I have chills.
Mm.
It's so awesome. Okay, so this is a perfectly legit art history course for a junior high or high schooler, is to follow these things.
Hmm.
Watch the movies. There's this PBS show that used to be on called Fake or Fortune,
Ooh.
and 90% of the episodes are wonderful. It's where they get a painting and somebody thinks, is it a real Rembrandt or is it a fake?
Oh
And
my.
so they chase the provenance, which basically means who owned the painting over the years. And they travel to meet, Joe Schmo, who found it in his attic, and how did it get in his attic? And then they do the science to analyze the paint. And then so it's all the pieces of art thievery. And then at the end, they declare what they think, if it's fake or fortune. And if it's real, a lot of times you watch the painting, then a year later, or whatever, go to auction and, make millions of dollars for the thing.
Wow.
But along the way, you're learning about all these famous painters. You're getting geography stuff, like, because they're traveling and it's wonderful. We used to watch it, not every day, but because I think it's half an hour, might be 45.
Hmm.
So in the afternoon, when everyone's got that lull, like, oh, let's do our art history. We're going to watch an episode. There are a few, for those of you with younger kids, there are a few where the lifestyle of the artist was inappropriate, things that you might not want your younger kids to be exposed to. So read the description or read a little bit if you're worried, or just don't be afraid to turn it off and say, oh, nope, we're not watching that episode. We're going to watch this one instead.
Hmm.
But like I said, probably 90% of them are totally fine and so fascinating.
Oh, I love
They're
that.
British toast, so how can you go wrong with that?
I feel
Yes.
like we could add another 45 minutes to this if I keep saying everything that's coming to my mind.
It's
Um,
okay. It's just going to be like 4 episodes. You can use them over
Yes.
the next year.
Have you, okay, you can edit this out. Yeah, like it's fine. But for the sake of the conversation, are you familiar with it's a Netflix series. I think it might only be 4 episodes, but it's called This Is a Robbery, and it's about the heist at the Isabella Stewart Gardner.
No.
They interview people who were there, witnesses. They interview some, like there was a couple outside because it was St. Patrick's Day in like 1990 or something. But there was a young couple that was outside. They probably been drinking or whatever. And they are walking and they see the car that's parked outside where the robber
No
goes in. And
way.
the robber is wearing a Boston police officer uniform. But
Hmm.
this couple
Hmm.
sees them go in and they interview them in this Netflix special. And they're kind of telling what they noticed, what they saw. And I think they interviewed obviously the woman who was the director at the time. It's crazy. And she was new and kind of young, and it was showing her in some of the press release stuff. And you could just see she was like, I did not sign up for this. This is way
Wow.
beyond my pay grade. The press was tearing her up. But that's another good one if you love the art heist stuff.
Hmm. Hmm. So I just read a fiction book. I can't think of the title, but I'll look it up about this woman who's a docent at a museum, and she's preparing this Picasso exhibit. It's not a true story, but it has elements of truth in it. And on opening night, she realizes that one of them is a fake. She can just sense it, and she says it out loud. That's a fake. And so
Oh,
it leads to this whole like, how did the fake end up here? She's gonna get fired. The exhibit is ruined. It was in honor of Picasso who had just died. Like, it's a fascinating book because it did the same thing. Like, I wonder if anything like this really happened. And then I'm
yeah.
chasing rabbits.
Oh.
Mm, so fun. Okay, now I'm like wanting to watch some art heist things.
Yes, Fake or Fortune,
That is
YouTube.
really cool.
It kind of reminds me of the oh shoot, what is it? Antiques Roadshow,
Yes.
except very art.
Yes.
Like, oh,
Yeah.
Oh, and much more fun to watch than that. It's fascinating.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. Um, and it makes me think about the time that we got to go to the UK together
Oh.
Yes.
and go to the kilns and just
Mm.
to hear and see and touch all the things. It's so,
Hmm.
that
Hmm.
was fun to do that with you. And I could see you light up during that time too. Yeah.
I'm a different person in England than I am here. Way more brave, thinking about Jennifer being uncertain. Once you do international travel like that, once you realize, oh, it's not really that big of a deal. Like, if you end up in a spot that's bad, you just cancel that and you go somewhere else, or you adjust, or you change the plan, and it's all fine. You figure out the public transport. It feels way safer than any major city in the US. It might not actually be safer, but it feels safer. And you just run off that. I can't believe I'm here the whole time. Yeah, Gretchen and I, oh my gosh, that trip was so funny because we would sit in bed at night after Sally and Lynn had gone to sleep, and we're quietly whispering to each other and looking at like guidebooks and stuff. What do you want to do
Yes.
tomorrow?
Oh.
Yes.
Okay, we're gonna go see the horse park, and let's go to Churchill's war rooms, and
Yes.
then we're gonna
Wow.
do, because we were in this routine of Gretchen and I would run around for a few hours on our own, and then we would do stuff with Sally. Plus, we were navigating Sally's eye accident, so that was a whole
Mm.
Oh
nother
my
thing.
goodness.
But I just have such fond memories of that. Gretchen and I trying to pack as much of London into a few days as we could.
Yes.
It was
Yes.
so fun.
Oh.
That was so much fun. Oh, let's do it again.
Yes,
Find a
please.
moment on the road.
Bring
Yes, yes.
I'm going to insert myself into that trip.
You
Into
go right ahead.
Yes, yes, you are invited. So fun. Oh, Jenny, thank you, thank you, thank you for joining us today. It has been so good just to hear all of your amazing ideas and just your journey of home education and your travels. All of it has been so much fun.
Well, thank you for having me. It's such an honor. You guys are doing a wonderful thing with this podcast. I keep telling people, I think you would like this one. I think you would like this one.
Oh,
Thank
thank
Because
you.
it's
you.
so real and encouraging, and also has the practical piece, which I
Yeah.
think sometimes it's one or the other, but you guys are doing a good job of having both.
Mm.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
we know that people are going to want to find you. So where are the places that people can find you?
So the Learning Path podcast is, wherever you can find your podcasts. And the show notes for that all live on www.thelearningpathpodcast.com.
Okay.
So you can find those there. I am on Instagram. My Instagram handle is Juneberry Blue, because when you have a name like Jennie Nelson, you don't get to have Jennie Nelson because there's a million Jennie Nelsons. So it's JUNEBERRYBLUE. And I'm not on there a lot, but I do try especially to pass on things that I really think are meaningful. So that is probably the best way, either the website or Instagram. And I love being a resource for people. So, if your listeners have a specific question, feel free to send it my way.
Yes. If you
Thank
need
you.
any book genre recommendations, Jenny has the best book recommendations. So fun. Well, we will link to all those places where people can find you on the show notes too. But thank you for sharing that so we can hear all about your 12 challenges and just all the book resources. We will try to link everything, all the books that we talked about today. But thank you so much for joining us, and we would love to have you back.
Yes, please.
Maybe once you finish the Stealing the Mystic Lamb.
Oh, yes, we
We
could
should
do
do a
like
whole episode on
discussion.
art heists.
Yes, I
Yes,
love it.
please. I'm gonna have to reread it to get it fresh.
I love it.
You're
That's
going to have to read it, Gretchen.
I know you've
so good.
brought me
So
in.
good.
I love
Well,
it.
it's so fun because it's a piece of religious art. So it also has that like the weird dynamics between the artist and the church and the different religious beliefs that are going on there, plus the bizarre symbolism that's in that painting. Like that's what I'm in right now. It's
Yeah.
really fun. I think you would like it.
All right. Let's do it.
All right.
Thank you.
You're
Thanks,
welcome.
Jennie.
Love you.
Bye.
Bye.